How does a little girl from the dusty streets of the Northwest end up owning a building in the City of Gold? Josephine Tshaboeng arrived in Johannesburg all alone in her early 20s and worked as a domestic worker for 15 long years. Then an opportunity crossed her path that changed her world. Downtown Joburg has experienced years of urban decay and dashed dreams, but there are positive stories too. This one features a woman and a building, and how each turned the other one's life around.
Hello.
Oh, hi, Lisa.
This is me. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Yourself?
Good to meet you. You ready for this?
Yes,
Fantastic.
to share my life story.
That's the way.
Yes, can we please go inside? Yes. I started life very tough. Even if people saw us like we were happy, but inside we were missing. There was one puzzle missing. No mother. But I think it was for a reason. Those challenges, those tough times of my childhood put me somewhere.
Josephine grew up in Lichtenburg, but at the age of 9, her mother left, leaving her father to bring up his 5 daughters alone. He would often have to work away from home to make ends meet.
My father was always traveling. He was fetching cars from PE, these big trucks, loading cars, the cargoes and all that. And sometimes he was not coming home. We couldn't cook. So we will sleep, with the bread, no food. And maybe my father will come after 2-3 days. We were happy every time with father. And the time came, he got arrested. He was involved in an accident. The way he was telling us, he was not wrong.
You were 5 girls alone in the house. It must have been really tough.
It was bad. We were left alone. He was locked for 8 months. And then in that 8 months, they confiscated our furniture because we were owing the rent. They took the beds. We were sleeping on the floor. With no food, with nothing. No coal, no nothing for 6-7 months.
With their father gone, the responsibility fell upon Josephine's older sister Poppy to look after the girls, the littlest of whom was still in nappies.
Being small as I was and becoming a mother, raising my sisters, and I didn't know anything about children. I have to bath them, give them food, bread and tea. It was very tough.
The community was not as supportive as one would have thought, and when Josephine's father finally returned home, the truth of his daughter's daily struggle hit him hard.
I was in the classroom. I was, keep on checking, and I saw the windows were opened and the front door. And I ran, and I find my father sitting, in the middle of the room, facing downwards, worried. The house is empty. And I remember entering, and he holded me like a father, brushing my hair, and said, "How's everyone?" And I said, "No, they're all fine." And, he was crying. It was very sad. And life started again.
But with all the difficulties, Josephine and her sisters were still just little girls, running around and savoring the space and freedom that they felt as a family together again.
I was always playing. 5 o'clock, maybe I will see my father coming from the corner. I will run quickly in the house. I will take the bucket, clean the toilet. It was the outside toilet. Pour water with the broom so that my father can see that I've done something, forgetting that the dishes are still there since 2 o'clock after school.
Josephine was a single mom with 3 young children when she left for Johannesburg. Lichtenburg held little promise and she needed to find work. Her children, however, had to stay behind.
It must have been really hard to leave your kids.
It's not easy, Lisa. It's a very hard or tough decision to take. Leaving something behind that that I'm just leaving. The thing is, you coming to look for something to make them, grow better, to pay their school fees, because the way I grew up, nobody wants to grow up like that. And bringing children, to life, You don't want them, that pain to go to them.
Like so many other new arrivals in the big city, Josephine turned to domestic work to make ends meet. She'd remain in domestic employment for over a decade, and 8 years were spent in one job as a nanny and a housekeeper.
They were my family. I still miss them. They were my family. I used to put the baby on my back, walking around with her. Inside, you always miss your kids, But outside there, it's not easy. It's really not easy, but you need to survive. It was the first time I work as a domestic worker. And I was not raised by a mother who can say, you must dust, you must clean this, you must iron like this. So my madam used to say, Joe, you can. You must never tell me that you can't. It took me to the next level. And every time I will say that, oh, she said I can.
How did you feel about your life at that point?
I used to say, but I really don't belong here. This is not my place. But I didn't know what to do out there. But there was something in me that, this is not me.
Josephine Tshaboeng had worked as a domestic worker for many years, but always felt that there was something more that she wanted to do with her life. She quit her job with no clear plans. Then one day she was taken by a friend, Mrs. Johnson, to a building in downtown Johannesburg.
We walked to Saratoga, to this building, and I didn't ask questions. We were just walking. And she said to me, do you see this building? I said, yes. She said, can you manage it? I said, Mother Johnson, I've never managed the building. And something clicked in my mind, and I remembered my madam said, you can.
The building was a vacant former old-aged home belonging to the local Vroue Federasie. Josephine accepted an offer to find tenants for the building and manage the block. It was a golden opportunity for her to spread her wings and make a success of things. Her life was starting to change.
I grabbed my book. I had a big flash book, started writing rooms to let, the address, telephone number. I didn't have the cell phone. There was a public phone, so I was not sitting far from the public phone. The phone started ringing, people looking for accommodation. The rooms were very cheap. It was like 650 because I just wanted to fill the place with tenants.
So Mrs. Johnson asked you to fill the building, which you did, and then the Vroue Federasie saw your talents.
Yes.
What happened next?
I went back and worked as a caretaker, full-time caretaker now. Now I was on my own. And now the people started defaulting. They were not paying the rentals.
From the mid-1990s, downtown Johannesburg began experiencing a steady decline. People were streaming into the city despite a lack of jobs. Crime was on the increase and urban decay was setting in. And in the midst of it all was Josephine, trying to do an honest day's work.
15, they will pay half rentals. The others, they were staying there for about 3 months. And when I asked them to pay, they will tell me, you can't tell us, this is the government building. And now the people started fighting me that I can't be their caretaker. They needed a man.
Why didn't you leave?
I couldn't. I loved the place. I fell in love with the place. From day one, I was signing the papers.
Eventually, the Vroue Federasie wanted out and decided to sell the building. They boldly suggested to Josephine that she buy it, but none of the banks would give her a loan. Then she discovered Tough, a company focusing on urban renewal in red-lined areas.
Basically, our role is to finance property entrepreneurs in the inner city. We looked at the business. Remember, we are funding the business, not the individual. We liked the character, we believed in the character, and thank God this was a business decision because she could put her head on the block. She had some kind of money that she had saved that she put into the business.
Josephine's plan was to create an all-girls student hostel. She'd subcontract to Johannesburg University, providing much-needed accommodation.
I've been working in Doornfontein, Hillbrow. I saw that the students needed the accommodation. So now there's the time now I think, no, let me just do girls.
You came to the city alone and the students come to the city alone.
Yeah, coming to Johannesburg, it's a big city, very fast life. So you get confused. This thing now came to me that they are going through the same what I went through. So let me just rescue them. I think everything is all about the risk. I was taking a risk. Life, for you to survive, you must take a risk.
So you took a leap of faith?
I took a leap of faith. I took a leap of faith.
So there was an organization next to you supporting you. How did it feel?
After speaking to Presage, I was already excited. I didn't know who to talk to. I even called my sister and said, look, I'm getting the building and, tough promise to pay, and now they're dealing with the owners.
There was very little resistance in our opinion. Little did we know that as soon as people realized that Josephine was going to take over as the owner, they were going to resist, which dragged for over 2 years. Property eventually was hijacked. The owners of the property had no control, Josephine had no control, and we had to assist her to get control.
It was overcrowding with small children. Even in the bathrooms, people were living in there. There was a bed, somebody was staying in the lift.
What was it like when you first came here?
When I first came and saw this place, and she told us that she was working here, I was like, woo, okay. It was basically a squatter camp. It wasn't humane for somebody to be living in those type of conditions. There was washing hanging all over the place, like just a mess, like a total mess.
The building had been hijacked, meaning that tenants were now paying their rental not to Josephine but to thugs who'd taken over the collection. Resentment grew over her new ownership and tenants began to trash the building. With no other option, Josephine turned to the courts to seek eviction.
When Mom used to go to court, which she did quite a lot, she'd come back home and you'd see that she's stressed and, she's like, why are these people doing this to me? Because, I haven't treated them in any, chased them out or anything. All I asked them to do was to pay rent.
We were granted with the eviction order at the High Court. And now I was not even walking past there because they knew I'm the one who's buying the building. It was a very risky situation.
There's been a lot of instances where people like Josephine have been killed by hijackers. They've been shot at, they've been hijacked personally.
I've always worried about her safety, especially working with people, the sort of people who were staying here. There were thugs, and the overcrowding, alcoholism, drugs, and she'd get phone calls and SMSs of people threatening her. So it was quite scary, and she was afraid.
To keep safe, Josephine would take different routes to and from work every day. But one day she was cornered in an alleyway by one of the hijackers.
So he came and said, is it you, Josephine? Are you Josephine? And then he had a gun. I saw the gun here. And I just put my hand and said, no, take my bag, let's go, Because if somebody's voice rises, you must always be down. So that's how I acted. And I think it was God's wisdom. It was just God's power. Because if God was not with me, really, that person was going to do anything.
I just told God that if it is you who's giving Josephine this place, then give it to her without problems. I think you can't just take her from nowhere, and when she's about to get where you want her, and then she's getting into troubles like this.
It was tough. It was not easy for me because I was walking from the workplace to my house. So I sometimes felt like something bad can happen to me. I remember there was this time they were shooting in the air. So now if somebody can just go ta-ta-ta-ta with the gun, and then it's not easy for you to go back there. But I remember that song that when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. So let me keep on pushing.
Josephine Tshaboeng had taken a huge leap of faith buying a building in downtown Johannesburg that had been hijacked. Her tenants simply refused to pay their rent, supporting interlopers who threatened her life and disregarded her legal ownership. It took 2 years to get a final eviction order.
The evictions started early in the morning around 4. The Red Ants, as they are popularly known, led by the Sheriff of Court, surrounded the building and started evicting people out.
It was November 28, 2008. That morning, it was a disaster. People started fighting with the Red Ants. But you know, the Red Ants, they come in 2 trucks. You can't fight them. So they knocked on each room and tell the people to get dressed and go out.
Knowing Josephine as a parent and as a mother, I certainly know that she was not in a celebratory mood, because she felt the pain of seeing the children, the women being thrown out of premises that they had viewed and held as their own for a long while. Some of those people were her friends.
It's not easy seeing these kids being put on the streets. Where are they going? It was raining, it was cloudy, it was cold. You even forget the hardships you were going through. You start feeling sorry. I didn't want to see anything. I just, stayed away from the building.
I know that she don't like that. And it was not easy for her. But it was tough because these people, they were against her. They didn't know what she wants to do. She was trying to show them that she's trying to give them a better life, but they didn't see it that way.
You took a leap of faith, and it was hard for you.
It was a challenge that I was supposed to face. Sometimes you come across something that you don't even like to do, putting people on the street. So it's not an easy time. It's a very, very tough time for people.
So what was it like to go back to the building after the evictions, to walk into that empty space?
I just walked around, went up to the 3rd floor, and it was cold, dark, dirty, bit scary because I was alone. But the time I was looking around, I just saw a paradise, the baby that I love.
Within days, the evicted rent defaulters had found accommodation nearby, and Josephine, with a prime plus 2% loan from TUF, now focused on her project. She sealed a deal with Johannesburg University and embarked on a renovation. Harmony Girls Student Residence, the first of its kind in downtown Joburg, started to take shape.
We were excited that, at last, this one phase of this whole struggle has actually been, we're going past it now. Now the next phase is the cleanup, which was, whoa. What was not replaced had to be washed off, like, over and over and over and over again. So, yeah, it was bad.
And this place, it used to be the chapel. For the old,
chapel?
Yes, for the old people.
Yeah.
And it was an big open hall. So I had, to divide it and build all these rooms. And we managed to get like 8 rooms out of that empty hall.
Talk to us about the renovation.
This whole building had to be redone from the roof to all the bedrooms and the passages, the bathrooms, the toilets, the water system. Everything had to be brand new. But because this place is a heritage site, some of the construction of the building couldn't be touched. We couldn't do anything about it. But everything else has been redone, revamped, fresh, brand new, everything.
Yeah, this is one single room.
Hi. So Josephine is strict on you guys, eh?
Yeah.
Eh?
Tell Lisa that I don't want boys to come and disturb you girls. Oh, Harmony is a very pleasant place now. I've got peaceful students, you know, very happy students. The place is very peaceful.
For me as a person, it's what gives me the joy to hold high my head as I see someone that had literally nothing in her life and now has become a proper businesswoman who understands that her life can be actually even more better from the little that she has done.
What do you call Josephine?
Mom Josephine.
Most of them, they say Mom Jos.
Yes.
Yeah.
If all goes well, Josephine's loan from TUF will be paid off within 15 years. And she received the Halala Award in 2010 for her contribution to the city's urban renewal. It was a proud moment indeed.
I was excited. I was so happy for her. I was beaming. I think I even shed a tear. I was very happy. And just watching her there, I mean, from her wearing domestic clothes to her going up on that stage with all these prestigious people who we've never even heard of, but you know of now because of where she's been and where she's at right now.
Hi, Sen.
Hi, Joyce.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
When you look back over your journey and your leaps of faith, what do you think?
I think I always, when I'm sitting, you know, from nowhere to somewhere, it's a route, it's a journey. I'm always thinking of growing up without a mother, where I was gonna be if I was spoiled. Now I can see that I'm a mother because my kids, they were at home. You know, I used to raise the other people's kids. Now my kids are around me and I've got students around me. So now I feel very great. Today when I'm walking in there now, I can see that paradise that, you know, I was thinking of. I feel happy, not scary anymore. I see the light, the beauty. Everything that was inside me, now I can see it.